Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and today we're going to be going over the 2019 Nissan Titan, and this particular one has that diesel motor. So as always, we will do a quick walk around on the Titan, go over the key features, then we'll take it out to see how it drives. And a big shout out and thank you to Tim Daly Nissan here in Murray for providing us with the vehicle. If you are on the market for a Nissan, definitely check these guys out. But if you are stopping for the first time as well, I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. So there are two engine options that you can get for the Nissan Titan. First, there is a 5.6 liter V8 that goes through a 7-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy on that engine is actually 15 around town, 20 on the highway. And in terms of power outputs, you're gonna get 390 horsepower and 394 pound-feet of torque. This truck has the 5-liter diesel motor that's made by Cummins. It's routed through a 6-speed transmission that's made by Ison. And then in terms of power outputs on this, it's 310 horsepower and 555 pound-feet of torque. The EPA does not release fuel economy numbers on the diesel motor. Now, wrapping things up front, we can see the nice projector bulbs with the LED accent lights that are right over there. And then we can look down below, the turn signals integrated there with the brights. And then we've got some fog lamps down below with the parking sensors integrated into the bumper. You do get some nice tow hooks with the Titan as well. And then this one's got body painted bumpers with the blacked out grille. I would definitely recommend going for this. I like the look of it. I'm always one that likes this over the chrome look, and then you do get a big nice Nissan logo in the center there. And then we can look in here to look at the suspension a little bit. You do get these nice 18-inch alloy wheels, and they've got kind of like these matte little inserts on the outside of the rims that have a really nice look to it. And since this is the Pro 4X, you can see we get a little bit more aggressive tires, a little bit better for the off-road. And then I'm just going to give you guys kind of like a side profile so you can see the truck. This truck's absolutely massive. They kind of call it like a heavy half-ton, and it's for good reason. It's not quite a full-on heavy duty, but then it is quite a bit bigger than a half-ton. Now looking in the back here, we've got the key fob for the Titan. You've got a couple different functions on it. You've got your lock and unlock function, and then your remote start. So if you lock the truck and then hold the remote start down for a minute, that 5-liter diesel will start right up. And then if you press it again, you can turn the truck right back off. And we can actually start down below. We can see the exhaust tip for the diesel motor right there. Got some more parking sensors integrated in the back of the bumper. You do get a receiver hitch on the truck. The taillights right here, we can see the reverse lights integrated right there. I like the design of them. I always like it when taillights kind of pop out on the side of the truck on the top portion rather than the bottom portion. Then you can see the Pro 4X logo back there. And then we do get the backup camera, which is integrated into the latch for the tailgate. Speaking of the tailgate, we can pull the latch here, and we do get a slow lowering tailgate. This one already has a bed liner in it, so you get some covering over here. And then this is kind of more like the spray-in liner. You can see there's some rails in the bed, and then some little prep there for a fifth wheel. And then you do get these little storage boxes on the side of the truck with some bed sliders. So there's a ton of utility with this bed already from the factory. And then lifting up the tailgate, it's actually really easy to lift it up. It's one of the more lightweight tailgates, especially compared to some of the other manufacturers. Like Ford has that like multi-function tailgate that's super heavy. So I'm glad that they actually don't have that, because I like tailgates that are a little bit more lightweight, that are easier to pick up and lock in place. And actually coming around to the side, we can see this is where you're going to fill in the diesel fuel, and then this is also where you're going to fill in the DEF. All new diesel vehicles have to have this diesel emission fluid in it, and so it's nice that they put it right next to the gas cap, so it's easy to access. Now coming around to the back here, we can look at the door panel for the rear. You're going to get some nice leather padding here with some contrasted stitching. Window controls can be right there, and then got a little speaker integrated into the side of the door as well. Now looking at the rear seats here, we get this nice contrasted stitching on the rear seats. The bolsters are pretty open, so it's really easy to sit in here. It's pretty comfortable as well. They've got some nice perforations in the leather. You can see the controls for the heated seats right there. You get some power outlets, USB as well, but we can actually pull up the seat. It'll lock in place here, and if you want to let it down, you just have to pull this lever and the seat will fall back down. But we get these little storage trays underneath here, and they've got these boards that you can fold out flat across, so if you need a flat loading floor in the back here. So it's nice that they give you all that functionality in the back. And then the last thing to mention in the back is there is a power rear sliding window. Now we do have keyless entry on the truck, so one touch to lock it, And then if you want to unlock it, one touch it again. And then before we head inside, I actually want to mention these mirrors. So you've got these nice kind of like trailer-like mirrors. So you've got kind of like a convex mirror that is a little bit wider angle so you can see things back behind you. And then you've got the regular mirror there, and the blind spot monitoring is actually integrated up above in the mirror. But now actually opening up the Titan up front, we can see again, we've got nice stitching here with the leather bolsters. All of our window controls are going to be right here with our mirror controls. And then we've got our memory seat buttons just right there. And then if we pop down here, we can see we've got some buttons here for the power adjustments on the seats, lumbar as well. And then we can see our pedal layout just down below. And looking at these front seats, I really like them. They have a nice look to them, and again, the bolsters are pretty open, so they're really comfortable to sit in, and you get more of that contrasted stitching. You do get a Pro 4X logo on these seats if you do go for the Pro 4X trim. Now, before we step inside, we can see a bunch of different controls here. So you see you have an off-road mode there. It's kind of like a descent control, and then we've got lockers in the back. You've got all your different power auxiliary switches, basically to turn the power on for those, cargo lamp, and then your regular lights. You just leave them in auto, makes things a lot easier, and then you do have your trip computer right over there. And then I did forget to mention, we do get a power adjustment on the steering wheel to adjust the steering wheel. Now stepping in, step in height's going to be a little bit higher. You might want to get running boards with the Titan so it makes it getting in and out a lot easier. To start up the Titan, you have to put your foot on the brake, push the push start button, and then the gauges will do a sweep. You'll get a little graphic with the Titan spinning in a circle. Now looking at the steering wheel here, we have our cruise control on the one side. We've got all of our controls for the radio and Bluetooth on the other side of the steering wheel, and then this steering wheel has some nice contrasted stitching on the center of it. I like the design of the steering wheel, and it's actually really comfortable to have your hands in. And then next to the steering wheel, we can actually mention the shifter. It is a column shifter. You can shift the gears yourself if you want, and then you can see you can press that to go into a tow mode if you need to. So we can see our center screen right here. We've got our RPMs over on the left side. On the right side, we have our tachometer and fuel gauge. And then you can see there's these little screens that you can scroll between. So you can go into driving assistance, for example. So you can see your like degrees that the truck is at, so it's kind of neat that it gives you all of that. You have some auxiliary gauges, but there's a bunch of these little screens that you can scroll through essentially, and a bunch of different bits of vehicle information that you can see. And so I'm glad that they give all of that in that little center screen. And then no truck is complete without a shifter, so it's always in two-wheel drive until you shift it over. You got your four-wheel high, and then you do have your four-wheel low, which you can see you have to push it in. Most four-wheel low systems, you do have to be into neutral to get into that. Now coming over to the infotainment screen here, we can see that it doubles up as a basically touch screen, and then you do get analog buttons to the side. So you get your regular radio controls, CD player up top, and then just analog buttons for functions on the touchscreen. They're kind of like shortcut buttons. It's nice that they give you that. You guys know that I'm a big fan of having analog buttons as well as having buttons on the touchscreen so you can use whatever your preference is, but it'll come with like navigation. You can do your Bluetooth, phone controls, radio, all through the infotainment system here. And speaking of the center infotainment system, if we pop the truck into reverse, we can see a camera system will pop up. You do get a nice bird's eye view with some trajectory lines, and there is a line that's like straight in the middle where the receiver hitch would go, so it makes hooking up to a trailer a lot easier. But it's nice that they give you all these different views to park this truck since it is a bigger vehicle. Now popping down below, we have our controls for the dual zone climate right there, where you can control it up the front, and then we do have some analog controls for some other functions. So that's your blind spot monitoring, heated steering wheel, parking sensors to turn them on or off, stability control. And then we have our trailer brakes integrated just below here, some USBs and auxiliary, and then our controls for our heated and ventilated seats are on these dials. You just have to shift the dials side to side to do whatever function that you want to do. Now there's actually a ton of storage space with the center console, so you get some storage space under there. You do get these cup holders here, and then we get this massive center console which has a ton of storage space, a little cubby on the top to provide some extra storage, and then we've got some leather padding up top with some contrasted stitching, and there are some cup holders back here that are for the rear passengers. Now we can come over to the glove box right here, and it's a really big glove box. There's tons of storage space in there, so you're gonna have no problem with that. And I like the trim that's actually above the glove box. I think it has a neat look to it. And then I did mention earlier there is a power rear sliding window. The control for that is just that button right there, so that'll open or close the power rear sliding window for the truck, and you have all your regular lights up here as well. Overall on the interior, I definitely like the look of the interior. I like how they have the stitching up here on the dash. I really like the look of that, and how they have this kind of like speaker just put up there. I think it's just a cool little look, but it's definitely a nice interior. These seats are really, really comfortable, and the wider bolsters on to make it so that if you have broader shoulders, it's easier to fit within them. But that all being said, let's take the 2019 Titan Diesel out for a drive to see how this truck drives. We are setting off here in the 2019 Titan Diesel XD, and first impression is this truck feels absolutely massive, actually, and it's not a bad thing. So, like I said, this truck has this big, substantial feel to it, and it's nice because if you're in the market for a truck, that's kind of what you're going for, is you want this big kind of like king of the road feel, and the Titan actually gives you that feel similar to what a heavy duty would give you. Ride quality on the truck is actually really, really good. It's super, super smooth. I wasn't expecting that because most heavier duty trucks basically don't have smooth ride quality, and this compared to pretty much any 3/4 ton is, I mean, it's smoother than really any 3/4 ton, and that's because it's in that weird in-between gray area. Steering on the Titan is actually really, really light. It definitely is a bigger vehicle, and you can tell on this a little bit more than the Armada that I recently drove. It's definitely has not as quite of a sharp turning radius as the Armada had, but it's not horrible. Now, in terms of sound and road noise, there's not a whole lot that goes into the cabin. You do get some nice sound from that 5-liter diesel motor, and it definitely does sound like a diesel. It has a really, really nice sound to it. In terms of like initial acceleration, it's got a lot of torque, and you notice that it's not hard to get the vehicle up and going at all. That being said, about the torque, I bet that, you know, the V8, similar to the V8 that I just drove in that Armada, because that has a little bit more horsepower on the top end, that's going to pull a little bit harder. But when you're driving a truck or an SUV, the low end torque is a little bit more important than the horsepower, because it's not like you're trying to drive a race car or anything like that, or go super, super fast. Visibility with the Titan's actually really good. These mirrors show everything around the truck, so visibility with that's superb. And then in terms of just visibility looking around, that's really good as well, and so that checks all the boxes on that thing. We are going to get a real acceleration here now with this 5-liter Cummins diesel. Takes a second just getting to those turbos, but it actually accelerates really well. You kind of just ride on this wave of torque, and with 555 pound-feet of torque, that's more than enough torque for this truck. It's not a, I know that I said it's a bigger truck, but that's more than enough for the size of truck that this is. Now, overall impressions, if you are in the market for a truck and you want something that's more similar to a half-ton ride quality-wise and a little bit more similar to a half-ton size-wise, even though this is a little bit bigger, like I said, it's kind of in that weird gray area, then the Titan is definitely one you have to check out. Towing capacity on these is around 12,000 pounds, so they tow a substantial amount, and it's a bigger truck. You can get a diesel motor as well with them, and so, I mean, just everything about this truck, it's a really neat truck. And so if you are in the market for a truck, definitely check out one of these Titans. And there we have it, everyone, the 2019 Nissan Titan XD. And as always, thank you everyone so much for watching. A big shout out and thank you again to Tim Daly Nissan here in Murray for providing us with the vehicle. These guys will hook you up if you are in the market for a new Nissan. But if you are stopping in for the first time, please subscribe, comment down below what you thought, and then I will see all of you in that next video.